This video is sponsored by Dubby Jitterless Energy Blend. Click on the link in the description and use the code PackerMan to save 10% on any order. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan and welcome to this edition of The Fuel, where today we're going to be talking about the 2023 Ag Pro 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series at the Talladega Superspeedway. I'm just going to go ahead and say this right now. This is probably going to be a slightly longer review than I normally do. Whoops, let me do that. It's probably going to be a slightly longer review than I usually do with the lower tier series because, god damn it, there we go, because there's some things that I got to talk about when it comes to what I saw yesterday and some of the concerns that I have going forward with NASCAR and when it comes to their super speedway racing. So what did I think of yesterday's race? Well, as a whole, it was a complete fucking garbage fest. I mean, the lost potential of this race, it just seems to be a fucking theme for NASCAR this year. This race had the potential to be one of the races of the year, and it turned into a gigantic pile of fucking dog shit. I know some people like this Brett dude on Twitter. You know, I stayed off of Twitter today just to enjoy the races, and I think I'm going to do that more often. Well, you know what? Go ahead, dude. None of us want to listen to your fucking bullshit anyways. I mean, if you want to lie to yourself and say this was a good race, then go right ahead. Because I'm not going to join in your fucking, you know, stupidity and your, I guess, insanity. You know, illusion of what you think is a good race. Because if you honestly think this is a good race, you're a fucking lunatic. Now, did this race have the potential to be a good race? Absolutely. That first stage was peak super speedway racing. It really was. That first stage was fucking awesome. Okay? A short 25 lap stage. We had 7 pure lead changes. It was clean. People were making moves. A bit risky, but it was clean. It went by quickly. And it was very competitive. And I'm thinking to myself, well, hell, this could be the makings of a great race. And to some extent, they extended that into the start of stage 2. And it continued to be the same. It was super competitive. And then the caution started. The first one was a multi-car accident down the backstretch. Of course, the scariest incident of... one of the scariest incidences... God, I can't even fucking speak right now. One of the biggest accidents of the day, or should I say probably the biggest accident of the day, was a big crash on lap 48, which was the second caution, involving several cars, including the 66 of Dexter Stacy, which went into the inside wall very hard, hit the wall that was jutting out right there. But of course, one of the main talking points was Blaine Perkins' barrel roll down the backstretch, which was absolutely violent. And there were some, looked like some structural integrity issues. Once the whole thing was done, it looked like the roof had come down a little bit, so it definitely was a cause for concern. So NASCAR is going to take it back to their R&D center to kind of analyze things and see what they can do to improve the structural integrity of these Xfinity cars. So there was a red flag to clean that up, and Allgaier won stage 1, which he did with a massive blocking move, which again was risky, but it still got the job done. And Jeb Burton won stage 2 under caution. And then the absolute stupidity started with people doing late blocks. I mean, we had 2 cautions in the first 2 stages, 7 in stage 3. And we had 2 overtimes. It just seemed like we could never get back into the rhythm that we had in stage 1. This is one of the problems that I've always had with throwing the cautions at these stage ends, is that it throws everything out of rhythm. You know, we were in a good rhythm in that first stage. I mean, why interrupt what was good racing? For a fucking commercial break that nobody gives a shit about? Not to mention the fact that I don't know who's in control of the fucking cameras on the Fox broadcast, but there was literally one instance that I saw where they were focused on the trial when there were no cars coming whatsoever for like 10 seconds, and then the instant that the cars come into the trial, well, they immediately switched to a different camera. Like, what was the fucking purpose of that? Just absolute fucking shoddy camera work by those in the production booth. I mean, it's like, what the fuck is going on? So the Fox broadcast was absolute fucking dumb. The racing was fucking dumb from stage 3 onwards. I mean, when you have people throwing these fucking late blocks and it not work out. I mean, Josh Berry tried to get down in front of Austin Hill, got himself turned, and then the one that caused another big accident and caused the first race to have 2 cars go rolling for the first time since the spring of 2016 in the Cup Series at Talladega. He tried to throw a block on Sheldon Creed while he was way out there. This was in turns 3 and 4. He got out there. Sheldon Creed had a big run on him. He comes down to try to block a move and turns himself and causes this massive wreck that causes yet another red flag and takes out most of the rest of the field that was left. I mean, only half the total cars were running at the end of this race. And I think only a few actually managed to get to the checkered flag without any damage, because of all this nonsense of throwing late blocks and all this other stupid fucking bullshit that we've been seeing. And then you have a caution come out for debris in the first overtime because Austin Hill, who got damaged, was crab walking and some debris came off of his car and caused another caution. So great, we have another fucking caution to go to yet another overtime, which I'm already sick of anyways. And Jeb Burton manages to hold everybody at bay and get his second career win. And as they're coming to the trial, well, they're wrecking it again. Yet another big wreck coming to the line. This shit is an embarrassment to cover. It really is. I mean, we're a quarter of the way through this season. And this shit is, I mean, this entire season has fucking sucked ass so far. From all 3 divisions. Have there been some bright spots this season? Yes, there has. There's been some decent races this year. But there's been nothing that's been absolutely fucking mind-blowing. In the Cup Series, we had 2 races this year that could have been all-time classics in the Daytona 500 and the Circuit of the Americas. At both times, late race cautions and overtimes just completely fucked the whole thing. And now here we have yet another case of a Talladega race that could have been another all-time classic if that first stage was anything to go by. I mean, if we had seen that for the entirety of the race, this would have been an all-time classic. But then we just got caution after caution after caution, dumb move after dumb move after dumb move. Like, why do I even bother fucking covering this shit anymore? If this is all we're gonna fucking get. It's absolutely frustrating to keep watching this shit go down. You know, and I mean, are there some bright spots? Of course there is. I mean, when you look at the top 10 finishers for this race, there are some very noticeable, very notable surprises in this top 10. Of course, you have Jeb Burton getting his second career win. He has 2 career wins. Guess which track they're both at? Talladega. So if that tells you anything. But he's made it into the playoffs, at least for now. If there's not more than a dozen people who get victories, then he'll be in the playoffs, which is, well, good news for Jordan Anderson Racing. We got their first ever win. Jordan Anderson, who's had a 2-car operation for several years now, has been trying to make it in as a car owner and actually managed to get both cars into the top 10. Parker Retzlaff, who almost went over himself in a wreck down the backstretch, recovers to finish 7th. But when you look at this top 10, you see some notables here. Of course, Sheldon Creed finished 2nd yet again. Parker Kligerman, a good driver, started 38th, finished 3rd. Cole Custer, who's been on the uptick past couple weeks, has had top 5 finishes the last 3 races. But look at the rest of this top 10 from 5th on down to 10th. Brendan Poole, who probably should have won an Xfinity race at Talladega a couple years ago if not for a dumb shit caution that NASCAR decided to throw a couple hundred feet before they actually crossed the line, which I thought was absolutely fucking stupid. Cesar Baccarella, driving for Alpha Prime Racing, number 43 car, finishes 6th. Parker Retzlaff, as I mentioned before, finished 7th. Gray Galding, who actually had a piece of somebody's splitter stuck to the front of his car after one of those big wrecks, finishes 8th. Joey Gacy, the number 35 car, is usually a back marker much of the time, finishes 9th. Josh Williams, Mr. Park It on the Front Stretch at Atlanta, comes home with a top 10 finish. All of them great stories. So I'm not saying that this race didn't have great stories, because there was. The problem is, there were way too many fucking cautions, and like 3/4 of the field got wrecked because of dumb shit. Because of people doing fucking stupid late blocks like Daniel Hemrick, who, because of a late block, ended up on his roof and basically wrecked half the field. Like, when are these drivers gonna fucking learn that late blocks do not work? Cat, get out of the way. When are these drivers gonna learn that these late blocks are gonna come back and bite them in the ass? Because we saw it on multiple occasions during this fucking race, causing massive accidents. Now, I've said on multiple occasions that NASCAR needs to get its fucking shit in order. Now, I'm not just talking about the officials. I'm talking about the higher-ups. I'm talking about the drivers. I'm talking about the crew chiefs. I'm talking about the team owners. The whole fucking shebang. Okay? Because there have been one too many fucking penalties. There have been questionable decisions by NASCAR. You know, some people have been saying, well, them changing the rules to only allow the appeals panel to take away some penalties or some points instead of all of them. I mean, that's a good thing, right? Maybe so. Maybe in the long run. But can you tell me why that they're changing these rules while appeals was going on? I mean, you can't fucking tell me that's not shitty as shit. And then for them to randomly pick the 2 Hendrick cars and they magically found, you know, 2 more instances of violations for both of those cars? You're honestly gonna fucking tell me that was not a fucking witch hunt? That was not intentional? That they were fucking pissed off? That the massive penalties that they handed to Hendrick Motorsports beforehand were all of a sudden just completely wiped out? NASCAR has shown in the past, especially its higher ups have shown in the past, that they are vindictive as fuck. And it honestly makes them all look like a bunch of fucking ass wipes. And and after all this shit, of the past really month or so, how in the fuck can you trust NASCAR officialdom at this point? Especially the higher ups when they keep changing the fucking rules and seemingly make up rules as they go along. This company is a fucking embarrassment to motorsports right now. This season has absolutely fucking sucked a pile of dicks. It really has. It's a fucking embarrassment to keep covering this sport right now. I mean, some people might have enjoyed, the crashing and shit last night. I did not. I mean, the last thing I want to see is a driver get hurt. I mean, there were some people that were saying that Riley Herbst might have been under the effects of a concussion based on his post-crash interview. Which, if that's the case, makes me wonder what the fuck's going on at the Infield Care Center. Are they even doing the necessary precautions to check these drivers for concussions? Because these are some fucking hard hits that these drivers are taking. These guys are going 180, 190 miles an hour, even with the tapered spacers that they have to restrict these engines. These suckers are still going 180, 190 miles an hour in the draft. And it's not just one person that noticed it. There were multiple people that noticed that Riley Herbst seemed to be a little out of it. I mean, you don't think that's a concern? Bringing this shit up is apparently complaining, according to some fuckheads on Twitter. No, it's bringing valid concerns to the forefront, you fucking idiot. Some of us are a little bit fucking sick and tired of the wreck fests that we've been seeing and the dumb fucking bullshit that's been going on behind the scenes. All the stupid fucking penalties and NASCAR changing things on the fly. That's been the dominant conversation this entire season instead of the fucking on-track product, which it should be to begin with. That should be the forefront of the conversation, the on-track product, and not the fucking bullshit that's been going on behind the scenes. But yet here we are. I mean, do you think I want to be fucking negative about this shit all the time? No, I don't. I want to be able to get on here and talk about positive things, good things that happen in NASCAR, but they're fucking non-existent right now. Because this company fucking sucks. The higher-ups don't know what the fuck they're doing. And these NASCARs are driving with their fucking heads up so far up their ass, I'm honestly surprised that they can even breathe. At some point, enough is enough. You gotta call the bullshit out. I mean, if some people say, well, you might be complaining a little bit too much. Not when it's valid criticism. Okay? I love NASCAR racing more than anything else, more than any other motorsport, but the thing is, you've got to call them out on their bullshit. If you truly love the sport of stock car racing, you call the organization out on their bullshit. Don't sit there and take it up the fucking ass like I know some people do that vehemently defend NASCAR regardless if they've done wrong or not. And some might even call me a NASCAR hater. I mean, if I was a true hater, I wouldn't waste my fucking time with this company. I wouldn't waste my fucking time sitting down for 3-4 hours every single Sunday to watch cup racing if I was a true hater. I go into each week hoping that I see good racing. And we have just not gotten it this year. At least from my perspective. Some people might feel differently, and that's fine. But from my perspective, from what I want to see, The good racing has been non-existent. For the most part. I mean, when you look at the race stats for this race, the numbers are there. The numbers are absolutely there. Especially when you watch that first stage. That first stage was awesome. Overall, we had 28 lead changes, 15 of them pure lead changes, although a large majority of them were in the first half of the race. Which shows you how shit the second half was. Especially when you consider the 9 caution flags that happened during this race. We only had 2 in the first half of this race. 7 in stage 3. 6,625 green flag passes, which, I mean, is to be expected at a super speedway race. Brett Moffitt actually ended up being the lap leader. He led 20 laps on the day, and we had 5 Coke Zero commercials during this race. Because, of course, we did. So, here's to hoping that the Cup race is somewhat decent and not a total fucking crash fest, because I just want something good to happen this weekend. Because it's Talladega, it's one of my favorite tracks on the entire schedule. And the last thing I want to do is come on here live and do a live review and just be fucking ranting and just spewing fire about how shit the Cup race was. That's the last thing I want to do. I want to come on here and say, that was one hell of a race. That's what I want. And typically, the Geico 500 has delivered that. I mean, I remember a couple years ago, I think it was 2020, when I gave the race a 10 out of 10. Because it was that fucking good. I don't expect that to happen in the Cup race this year's edition. But I want it to. I hope it happens. I hope we see some good racing today, and hopefully not a whole lot of fucking wrecks. Because I don't want to keep doing these negative reviews. I don't. I want to come on here and speak positivity about the sport for once. But at the same time, I've got to call it like I see it. It's my job as a reviewer. As a reviewer, you got to call shit how you see it. And right now, this season's just not been good. It hasn't. As a whole, this season has been trash. Can it get better? Absolutely it can. It can always turn a corner. But it's got to start at some point. Because, I mean, the sudden viewership drop, I mean, it's not just because of the Chase Elliott effect. No. People tuned in to see the new car, and now that that's kind of worn off, you know, they want to kind of stick around for the racing, and the racing's just not been good. So, that's just my feelings on that. But, as for my final rating for the Ag Pro 300, probably would have been an 8 or even a 9 if we didn't have all the stupid caution flags, but the best I can give it is a 3. I mean, there were some positives. It was super competitive. And you had a lot of guys up there that you normally don't see up at the front every week, getting top 10 finishes and all that good stuff. And there are some good stories that came out of it, but that's about it. The rest of the race was a fucking dreck. I mean, when you have, you know, crazy crashes, I mean, some people might like that. I don't enjoy seeing that. That's the last thing I want to see, because all those wrecks do, I mean, it just costs these teams tens of thousands of dollars to repair. And money is already tight with these teams as it is, with sponsorship not being as prevalent as it once was. Some people, I mean, take that for granted. And y'all need to open your fucking eyes on that, alright? These teams are not made of money. And anytime, you know, you have crash fests like this, I mean, you just think of all the hundreds of thousands of dollars that are just going down the drain. And it's going to hurt these teams at some point down the road if this type of shit keeps happening. So that's how I feel about that. But a bit of a longer Xfinity review. than I normally do, although it's mainly a rant about NASCAR in general, to be honest, but it was also kind of an indictment of the action that I saw on the track. But hopefully things won't be as bad for the Cup race later on today. So that blew out my voice doing this shit. But that's going to do it for this edition of The Fuel. Thank you very much for watching. And until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out. See you later. What's happening, ladies and germs? Thank you for watching tonight's video. If you're interested in sponsoring the channel, there is a link to my Patreon down in the description box below. Otherwise, hit like and subscribe if you want to continue watching great content like you saw today. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out.